All right. What is up, my friends? Mark Perry. Oh, bring it down a little bit. What is up, my friends? Welcome to the UFL Week in Review, but a special UFL Week in Review live from JoJo's in Frederick, Maryland. What's up? Can we get a little woo? All right, so you can't hear the audience there. All right, so appreciate everybody's being here. Also tuning in online. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, the whole kind of deal. Today we've got a big day because it is, well, first of all, we are live at the UFL Playoff Watch Party and live podcast. We're at JoJo's Restaurant and Tap House in Frederick, Maryland. We're going to start the day from 2 till about game time. Doing the show live, and also we got a special guest is Mike Mitchell. You're not going to want to miss this interesting conversation we had because yes, the UFL actually does talk about us a lot. Then we have 3 p.m. We have the Stallions versus Panthers game that is on, and then followed by the Battlehawks versus DC Defenders. Your team, the true America's team. Forget about the Dallas Cowboys. Because everybody hates the Cowboys in here? Yeah, okay. America's team, the DC's Defenders, are playing at 6 o'clock with the St. Louis Battlehawks. I am here with my lovely wife, Dawn. She's just going to wave hello. You all know her, and you actually rather talk to her. I've actually had fans come up to me in the stadium and say, "Hey, Mark, oh, it's so exciting to meet you. Where's your wife?" And I'm like, "For real? Come on." All right, so we're doing a couple things here live at JoJo's. Number one, we are giving away prizes, so you're going to need to talk to Dawn. We are giving 4 tickets to a DC Defenders game next year, as well as a $50 gift certificate to the UFL shop to buy your merchandise, hopefully the DC Defenders. And so we have those as well. So if you just meet up with Dawn, she's got the red DC Defender shirt on and the lovely silver fox hair. And you can sign in. All we need is just your name and email. That's fine. And sorry, people online, you can't do that. But what you can also do is we have a UFL championship pool right here. It's the donation, part of your monies goes to the National Ovarian Cancer Coalition. So it's $25 a square. And apparently we're down to about 25 squares left. If you are interested, you can email me podcast at UFL News Hub, and then we can get you signed up. It's $25 a square. First quarter gets you $250. The first half gets you $250. Third quarter, you can win $250. And the final score, you can win $750. So if you are here in the building and you can meet up with Dawn, and for $25 you can get in. We only have 25 spots left. You jabronis who did not come out here and who are online, you can email me at podcast@uflnewshub.com, and if I can get to you, you can. But it goes to a great cause, and it's a lot of fun. You can invite your family and friends to do it. It's only $25. Don't be so cheap. You pay $25 going to Starbucks. You can make watching the UFL championship game fun by doing that as well. So I also want to say hello to whoever is in the chat. Chris Mason says, hey. He says, let me move the chat over. He says, let's go Panthers and break those Stallions. We'll get into my picks and all this other kind of stuff as we get into the show. Chris says, Somerset Mall in Troy, Michigan is way nicer. Off Big Bieber. I don't know what that means. Norman checking in. He says, yes, let's celebrate. And he also says, hello, everyone. Can everybody say hi, Norman? Hi, Norman. Good to see you, Norman. Thanks for checking in. Pat Ruffino checking in. He says, Dawn looks great. Glad she's doing well. Yes, God is good, and Dawn is doing great. We appreciate all the kind words and thoughts and prayers over the last year. You guys followed her story. Multiple myeloma that we found out. She had a stem cell transplant, and that has transplanted her, and now she is the silver fox, and everybody loves her hair, but she never has to, she was asked, oh, thank you. This was not by choice. But she has hair, and I don't, so there you go. All right. So Norman says my conference championship predictions. He's got the Michigan Panthers 29, Birmingham Stallions 20. Then he's got the DC Defenders 20, St. Louis Battlehawks 33. What is wrong with you, Norman? You are not my friend, Norman, and everybody in this building does not like you now. So if you're watching live on chat, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, let us know your predictions of this game. Let's go through it one last time. Oh, wrong one. So, conference championship, Sunday today. Michigan Panthers, Birmingham Stallions, 3 p.m. on ABC. Michigan Panthers, Birmingham Stallions. So, my pick for this game, what I want to happen, because you guys know that I do not like Birmingham's stadium situation, I think the Michigan Panthers need to win this game. That's who I want to win the first game. Why? Because Michigan has been the one team in the UFL that has actually started to move up in the attendance, and I think they've hit a good spot as far as attendance goes, and they're a good team. We've got Bryce, the quarterback, Bryce Perkins from UVA. He is the guy. He's basically kind of the MVP aside from Jordan Ta'amu. So I'm rooting for. I mean, my family is a Hokie family. Go Virginia Tech. We don't want to root for a UVA guy, but in all honesty, he's really been the MVP this whole season. So I want, and I think it's best for the league if we can get the Michigan Panthers, as much as I want my DC Defenders in, but we'll get into that in a second. So first off, for me, Michigan Panthers taking the win. That's what we're hoping here. And by the way, I forgot. We should do this before my intro. Did you see the intro with the dog? So let's play the intro because I just set it up and I want to. All right, we're already getting some people signing up. And then we'll be back with more of the show. But check out the intro. All right, there you can see all the fans out so far. Again, this is a long day here at JoJo's because we're starting at 2 p.m. and we're going to go all the way to the end. Now remember, we're going to go live one more time during the DC Defenders St. Louis Battlehawks game, and that's when we're going to give away our two prizes. Again, that's the $50 gift certificate as well as the 4 tickets to the UFL DC Defenders team game of your choice. So let's go on to check out some of the other one. Brandon Perkins checking in. He's got the Panthers 31, Stallions 27, Battlehawks 28, DC Defenders 34. Good for you, Brandon. We like you here. Chris has got DC 38, St. Louis 37. Football Forever says, Mark, hope the fam is doing great. Christ be with you. Go see DC. I appreciate that, as always. Thank you so much for that. John says, did you see the interview with A.J. Smith, the next DC coach? I did see that. We actually had a write-up there on UFL News Hub about that interview. Definitely some really interesting things he talked about. Not only the drama around him leaving, but A.J. McCarron could have been the quarterback of the San Antonio Brahmas. They went with Kellen Mond, and they won one game. Could you imagine A.J. Smith along with A.J. McCarron? And he wanted to put the beat down on St. Louis after he lost his job to Manny Wilkins, who was basically an MVP candidate. I'm not sold on Max Duggan to take down DC in this game. So I'm not too, if it was Manny Wilkins, I'd be worried. But, Max Duggan, I'm not too worried about. The other news, did you see this news that was affecting the DC Defenders? DC Defenders cornerback Kelvin Joseph faces DWI charges in a fatal crash. Have you not seen that? That is, we have the full scoop on that breaking story. That happened yesterday. Apparently at like 4 o'clock in the morning, he was driving intoxicated, hit a motorcyclist, and that motorcyclist died. In that crash. He went home, then he wound up calling then he called the police about an hour later. They arrested him, and then he is now out for that game. So on to the second game, and we'll get to some of your thoughts here in a second. We have the DC Defenders, St. Louis Battlehawks. That's at 6 p.m. That's on Fox. Here's my problem with the DC Defenders Battlehawks game. I, of course, am a DC Defenders fan, season ticket holder. I want them to win. But for the sake of the league and the fact that the championship game is going to be in St. Louis, the league kind of needs the Battlehawks to win. But I think the DC Defenders are a better team. That game at 6 p.m. on Fox, that's how I think that game is. I mean, I want the DC Defenders to win, but I don't want them to win. Is that weird? Because in the end, I'm more interested in the league succeeding than my team winning, because I would hate for the league to basically fold a year or two later. But getting that extra game, could you imagine 50,000 fans watching the St. Louis Battlehawks game? All right, let's get into some more message. Appreciate all of you guys checking in. Let's see. UFL Isaac says Michigan Panthers 26, Birmingham Stallions 32. Sadly, I'm not scared of the Stallions this year. And frankly, and I've said this a lot, I want the Stallions to move, and I think they should move to Philadelphia, New Jersey. I mean, we talk about expansion. Mike Mitchell and I, which that interview is coming up here in a couple minutes, we talk about the expansion article that I wrote, the hate that I got, which happens all the time, and I don't really care. But also, Mike Mitchell and I talk about, we're not going to be able to give you a full interview, because I told Mike, I said, hey, let's go 20 minutes. We wound up going 40 minutes. But I'll give you a taste of it. We'll have the full interview on the YouTube and probably the podcast. Yeah, we'll do it on the podcast. We'll give you the full one. But we also talk about the expansion stuff, and Mike Mitchell thinks, and I'm kind of in that boat too, is that expansion might not happen this year, which I think is a real shame. I've said it from the beginning. I think we should move the Birmingham Stallions to either probably New Jersey, because we need to be in big markets. I'm tired of the Memphis showboats. I don't care about Fred Smith and his money. He can give me his money, and I'll have just as many fans coming to the games as what he does. So Stallions, and I'm kind of done with their run. Either you need to frame the Birmingham Stallions as the evil empire like the Yankees, and you can build off of that. Anywhere the Stallions go, they should, I've said before that you have Disney is part of this league. They have the IP of Star Wars. Use that music, and I think it would be funny to make, if Birmingham wins the whole thing, to kind of make them into the evil empire, basically. So let's get into some other ones. Anthony Miller checking in. What's up, Anthony? He's got St. Louis 29, DC 24. All right, we're not friends anymore, but we are friends, but I get it. I just don't think St. Louis is going to bring that. DC's got a good defense. We'll have to see. And he's got Michigan 24, Birmingham 19. Norman says, I hope you still like me, of course. And he says, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. Amen. All right, that's cool. Norman, we're cool. We're still cool. Chris says, talking about the KJDWY. I mean, can you, first of all, and I don't know, we don't know, anyway, him being out before you're leaving, like just, you could party afterwards, man. You got a big game coming up. I don't get it. Primetime Prank says the AJ Smith interview was wild. Not sure I believe everything he said, though. That's true. It was a great interview, great get for him, for Matty Fresh TV, who I got to meet at a DC Defenders game, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, that was a great interview. Very interesting. I mean, he just let it loose. AJ Smith should be back in the UFL, and I would love to see him as our head coach, if not our defensive coordinator. We're losing our coaching staff. They're gone for the rest of after this. They're moving on with Reggie Barlow. So I would love to see the DC Defenders bring in an AJ Smith. But would that change with Jordan Ta'amu as your quarterback? How would that kind of impact things going? But I mean, Jordan can run. He could sling it. I think it would be a perfect fit. Anthony says, I like McCarron and AJ Smith, but that Brahma's defense San Antonio might have won 5 games at most. True, true, true. Rich checking in, who Rich did participate in the UFL championship pool, so we appreciate him. Remember, you can still do that. Email me, podcast at UFL News Hub. He says, I think the same thing as Norman. I am hoping that the Battlehawks win as the league needs that. The stadium will fill up and they will actually be able to show the stands for a change. It's true, true, true. That's why I'm mixed. I'm totally mixed on that one. It's hard. But, I mean, I could go either way. Whoever, whether it's DC or St. Louis, those are the 2 teams I want to win the championship. So we'll just leave it at that. M. Ryder 77 said we need the Battlehawks. I agree. And Rich says, for the record, I said that before him. Okay, fine. Ken Gill checking in. What's up, Ken? He says, hi, Mark. Happy Conference Championships Day. Yes, I agree with that. Rich says we have 5 on the way from Nebraska for the Super Duper Bowl. We will do our part. Oh, that's from Nebraska. That's pretty fun. All right, so let's tease this up. We are at about 20 minutes in. We're going to play for a little bit the Mike Mitchell and myself interview. So the things that we talk about in this interview. So, of course, Mike Mitchell is the GOAT, the ultimate insider for the UFL. He gives you the attendance and ratings numbers every week, which is one of the things that people like to talk about the most. Also broke the scoop about the 2 potential 2 teams expanding in the UFL in 2026. And then 2 teams in 2027. He is now, from what the sources that he's hearing, is that that's not going to happen. We're getting more people with the championship pool. Cool. So we talk about that. We also talk about the Jerry Cardinale interview. He actually reached out to Redbird Capital for a comment on what I had said when Jerry Cardinale was talking about venues. So maybe we'll get into that part as well. So we talk about attendance. We talk about expansion. We talk about the TV ratings and how that works. Do they give him, the streaming numbers and all kinds of stuff like that. So we're going to play a commercial, and then we'll get into Mike Mitchell. And still, give us your questions, and we'll hit your questions after the interview. We'll come back on, and then we're basically teeing you up for the UFL Conference Championship weekend. And we are live from JoJo's Tap House in Frederick, Maryland. What's up? See, maybe you can hear them, maybe you can't. But all right, let's hit a commercial. We'll be right back. We got Mike Mitchell coming up.
Welcome to Pulse AI Solutions, where we empower small to medium-sized businesses with cutting-edge AI technology. At Pulse AI Solutions, we specialize in AI consulting, providing expert advice to help you integrate AI into your business operations effectively. Our custom AI solutions are tailored to meet your unique needs, ensuring you get the most out of AI technology. We offer comprehensive digital management packages, including website management, hosting, video editing, digital marketing, advertising, content creation, and search engine optimization. Our tech innovation services keep your business ahead of the curve with the latest advancements in AI and technology. From AI product management to enhancing your digital presence, we provide end-to-end support for all your AI needs. Join the revolution with Pulse AI Solutions and transform your business operations today. Visit us at pulseaisolutions.com to learn more about our services and how we can help your business thrive. Contact us today for a free business assessment.
All right, we are here on the cusp of UFL Championship Conference weekend, and we are here with the one and only current member of the UFL News Hub family, and return along with Greg Parks, the big catches this offseason, is Mike Mitchell. Welcome to the show, and good talking to you.
Thanks, Mark. It feels like we've been doing this forever now. I know you've been doing this for a long time, covering these leagues, and it's good that it's still ongoing and moving forward, even if there are some hiccups along the way.
Yeah, 2018 is a long time to spend waiting for this thing to really kind of kick, to kind of kick in the high gear. But so first off, let's get your thoughts on the season. What did you think? I mean, you're the guy when it comes to attendance and ratings. And one of the questions if we get into ratings is the ratings just the TV ratings, or does that also include the streaming numbers?
So on Fox, it does include the streaming numbers. Fox does combine their streaming numbers along with the TV rating that they get from Nielsen. The ESPN Disney side, they do not.
Mm.
So, I mean, there are times where they'll make announcements about digital engagement and tie that in, depending on what sport it is, that kind of stuff. But no matter how many times I've asked, and I ask all the time, they won't disclose it. And it's like, for example, we had a recent game that was moved over to ESPN Plus because of rain delay, because of delay, and it was at 3 o'clock. And then I asked, see what they say, and because they don't release that information, there's no direct number on the ratings there. So the Fox one is, and the ESPN one isn't. Now we're in a different world. It's constantly evolving in terms of like viewership and everything else. And so Nielsen is trying, Nielsen Media Research, who I've been in contact with, I'm trying to get more information for UFL News Hub as we go along here. We're down to 3 final games. They're working on a lot of tracking of streaming and a lot of different ways to track viewership. It's not an exact science. Another full disclosure moment. I used to be part of a Nielsen family household back when I was living in New York. And the way a lot of now some things have changed since then. I know that's a different universe, but the way it works is like if I'm here from home and I have a Nielsen box here, I represent my neighborhood. I represent my region.
Mm.
So viewing habits. It's not every home has a Nielsen box. So that's basically how Nielsen does it. So you get a percentage of that. So it's not so like say, well, wherever you live, Mark, if you had a Nielsen box, they would track your viewing habits, your family's viewing habits, etc. And then that would be juxtaposed or formulated to represent the particular area you're living in, because not every. So there may come a day where, and now I know it's evolving somewhat, where TV devices themselves will have tracking, more and more tracking, and that everybody will be able to, they'll be able to have a more accurate picture on
Mm.
the rating. So it's not an exact science, and but yeah, so that's kind of the story there. The streaming, Fox, yes, disclosure. Disney for the moment, for the longest time, no.
Did they break that out for you, or they just say it's all in
Not
there?
not individually. It's a cumulative.
Yeah.
So it's not. I wish they would.
Hmm.
Um, you know, again, a lot of times with these networks when they do PR releases, sometimes they'll add the digital engagement aspect to it to like butter it up the eventual number at the end there. But they won't actually say, well, this is how many people, unless it's an absurd amount of people that actually streamed it. And I know now people track Netflix and all this kind of stuff. So it's evolving as we go along. But if a network doesn't want to disclose it and they have an agreement there, then they don't allow anybody to monitor. It's like ESPN News. Recently, we had a UFL game that ended up on ESPN News. We only got like 98 minutes on ESPN. That was, I guess, week 10, right? And so the ESPN News, Nielsen, Disney, ESPN told Nielsen to not monitor, to not track it. So no
Hmm.
shows on ESPN News, and we saw that happening with the CFL when they were on ESPN News. Um, there was no ratings available because
Hmm.
nobody was monitoring.
So, because I'm really curious if the streaming numbers have gone up, but I guess if there's any positive numbers, they would probably announce that.
They would probably announce it. I would say more and more people are watching it. I've caught myself on a few different occasions watching it on the Fox Sports app, depending on what I'm doing and all that stuff, having it in the background while I'm doing something else. So I know people use so many different devices nowadays. Their phone, sometimes you'll be doing something, you'll have it on your phone. So it's a different world for sure. They're not releasing those numbers, Mark. Like specific numbers. It's difficult to pin down how many people. I know, like you're from the wrestling world, AEW. Just recently, I guess their Dynamite show is on Max.
Hmm.
So now you can kind of tout, they can tout and say, well, we got 600,000 viewers on average on TNT or whatever, TBS or whatever they're on. And they can fluff it up and say we got millions of viewers on Max
Yeah.
because of how many subscribers they got. But who knows? They don't give you the actual concrete data
Hmm.
to you can fluff it up all you want. So it's kind of it's a unique world we're living in with the way things have evolved with how people consume content, and so and how upfront and transparent networks are in relaying that info.
Yeah, because I don't think I was really surprised at how just the fall of cable is just accelerating. I mean, you have ESPN doing their own thing. Fox is like bundling all of their stuff. I mean, this wasn't the case 5 years ago when the XFL first came out. But really, at the end of the day, when it comes to the whether or not the UFL is going to survive, is what are the people behind the scenes, Fox and particularly Jerry Cardinal at Redbird Capital. And you have some info on the story that we did or that interview that he did where he mentioned venues. Do you want to kind of let us in on that?
Sure, and I know some people read his comment, Jerry Cardinal, that is in Redbird. And I have been in touch with people at Redbird and at Fox Sports, and just asking them things about things we're all wondering, just as supporters of the league, relocation, the venues, the issues they had with Audi Field and Ford Field. And Jerry Cardinal made a comment recently that they have to do a better job of picking the right venues, and I think, understandably so, some people thought maybe he was saying that there were attendance issues because the venues maybe weren't nice enough, or didn't have the cachet. But that's not what he meant at all, because I wanted clarification on that. So I spoke to a couple of people inside Redbird, close to Jerry Cardinal, and I was told that the comment was not so much about the venues itself, because no one could argue Ford Field is beautiful. It's a gorgeous,
Audi Field's nice.
yeah, and so Field's nice, and where the defenders play is nice. So the issue with the venues is how cooperative they are as partners, and meaning like the UFL is tenants at these specific venues, and they're treated like they're not top priority. And how are you going to be top priority over other established leagues?
Hmm.
But they're like fourth or fifth in the pecking order. And so that when I broke the story over at UFLNewsHub.com that if the case was that DC and Michigan had won their respective conference crowns during the regular season, that they wouldn't have home games. Everybody kind of knew about the Audi Field situation,
Hmm.
but Ford Field was kind of funny. They needed stadium upkeep and maintenance because of the Kendrick Lamar concert,
Hmm.
which is why, and I know it's very elaborate that they're having here in a couple of days, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So the 12th, like that. So anyhow, but the issue that Jerry Cardinal is bringing up is how the venues treat them, how the venues do not work with them to sell more tickets. To sometimes, like I just saw recently, I want to say a day or so ago, on social media, where someone was showing the Dome at America Center not having the Battlehawks listed, like on their billboards, awnings, promotional material at the venue itself. Like when you go to a lot of venues on the outside, you'll see an advertisement for tickets being sold. You
Hmm.
would figure at the actual venue that would be flashing left and right. And St. Louis does well, obviously. I mean, they're down a little bit this year in attendance, but
Hmm.
I mean, it's hard to knock the Battlehawks attendance when they're dwarfing everybody else in the league. So that's the point of contention and the issue. A year in advance, the UFL was telling Audi Field about the accommodations in case they had a playoff game. Ford Field, same thing. And the venues will not, there's an old saying, and I think I wrote it in my article when I talked about home field advantage and what would happen with the venues and all that. Beggars can't be choosers. Well, that's kind of the situation the UFL's
Hmm.
in sports landscape. I hate to put it this way, but they're in the beggar mode. Like if you have a venue that has high profile concerts and big time sports leagues, NHL or whatever it is, NBA, etc., NFL, and then you have all this other stuff, these ancillary stuff that people are into, whether it be racing or this, that, or the other, motor
Hmm.
truck stuff. And we saw it last year too. Michigan would not have had a home playoff game had they overtaken Birmingham a year ago because of a graduation ceremony.
Hmm.
So when a graduation ceremony is higher pecking order or equal pecking order with the UFL, that tells you what the priority is with the league. So I think, and I know, it's not even I know that Jerry Cardinal's comments about picking the right venues is about picking the right venue partners, people who will actually be proud to have the league, promote the league. When I called up Ford Field to speak with representatives about whether or not their field would be available for the Michigan Panthers in the playoffs, the people I spoke to forgot that they had the UFL. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to 3 years. So,
Yeah.
and they were surprised that people even care. Like, there are people who care. And I said, yeah, and so I was telling them there are a lot of fans that, and they're building momentum, they're doing well.
They
For them,
are.
it's not impressive. it's not that impressive to be, to have 11,000 crowd or 12,000 crowd or 13 or 16,000 like the last game, the Jake Bates bobblehead game.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was a very smart move, and you got to give credit to everybody who's working with the Panthers. They've been working very hard, and we have a tough time in this space. A lot of us fans, yourself, myself included, because at the end of the day, I don't have a favorite team in this league, but the whole team is my favorite. The whole
Hmm.
league is my favorite team. I'm rooting for the league to succeed because I love what it means for the football landscape. How many players get jobs, coaches, etc. I believe there's so much talent out there that don't get an opportunity in the NFL that are
Yeah.
getting it in the UFL. So I see the value in it, the innovation, the technology, all this stuff that the UFL is kind of bringing to the forefront, being ahead of the game, helping the NFL really. So anyhow, but we're all rooting for this league together. So I want to see I want to see the league do well and prosper. And so when you see these issues with venues and not being treated properly and attendance struggles and some rating struggles, it's a little tough because you worry about the prosperity and the long-term health of the league. And like every year, you wonder at the end of the year, you hear the right things, but you always wonder, will there
Hmm.
be a next year? And I mean, we'll probably be saying that a year from now, hopefully. Uh, will there be a 2027? Well, there'll probably be a lot of articles out there. So,
Yeah.
um, it's kind of a unique situation because I do know this, and this was an article, if I want to write about at the site, but there are end of season meetings that are planned between Russ Brandon and all the big heads at the UFL. And those end of season meetings are to discuss all the things everybody's speculating about, the relocation possibilities, expansion possibilities.
You think they'll bring up our names?
Well, it's very possible. They're fully aware, like they're fully aware of all the work and what is done and what is said. And I know that a lot of stories I've broken that people were very upset that I released information that were just directly from meetings and that they
Hmm.
were told to keep quiet
Hmm.
and to loose lips, sink ships kind of
Yeah.
deal. So, and then even recently, I wrote an article not over at UFLnewshub.com, but at All Football Digest, where I got a little bit of trouble. I can't get into it too much, but
Mhm.
I decided to delve into some stuff that maybe I shouldn't have. So I had to apologize to certain people. A lot of the information I get is off the record, and I may have shared something that I thought was on the record. Um,
Gotcha.
so yeah, so it happens. You make mistakes in life. So I made a mistake there. But they definitely to get back to the beginning of what you said, they definitely listen and they know about your story. They know about you now. Full disclosure, we're in an interesting space here because a lot of our content creators, for whatever crazy reason, go to war with one another or are a little snooty and angry with each other.
Uh-huh.
So instead of lifting each other up, we're kind of critical. So I know some people out there, some other content creators were criticizing you for publishing the story about the trademarks silliness.
Uh-huh.
You in your article, you said this could mean nothing.
Yep.
Which at the very end of the day, there may not be an Oakland Invaders. There may not be a Philadelphia Stars again. There may
Right.
not be, even though it hurt me personally because of my upbringing, it may not be a New Jersey Generals.
Mm.
But it could very well just be IP upkeep, right? But you came out, it could very well be. But it's
Yeah.
noteworthy. It's something to mention and talk about. It's noteworthy that these things are updated. And it seems like maybe some other teams have been updated too. I'm not even sure. It's confusing once you get into these trademark websites, right?
Hmm.
What's abandoned, what's dead, what's back to life, what's still in suspension, what isn't.
Hmm.
But it was a noteworthy thing, and that it was an interesting story, and it got a lot of people talking because all the content creators out there were talking about your article, and which many of us have done. A lot of the hardcore spring league fans have spent time trying to find clues, trying to find information, trying to see what's coming,
Hmm.
and I know for a fact, I can tell people out there who are listening to this, watching this, that Mark does in fact talk to people within the league, and a lot of the stuff that he's written about and said is stuff that's relayed to him. So it's not out of thin air baloney stuff.
Right.
I'm not just saying that because I've worked with Mark from the get go,
Mm.
and that we've known each other for a while, but it's so there's validity to the stuff. We've seen recent stories. The Memphis Showboats looks like they'll stay. You wrote in
Yep.
your article how that FedEx connection and is still something they're hanging on to.
Yeah.
And so something you wrote, a lot of people expect Memphis to be or Houston to be out. They may very well not be. So end of season meetings, Russ Brandon, all those guys are going to be talking about all these things. The initial plan, as I reported, as people know, and as you wrote about at UFLnewshub.com, David Dykman came out, let the cat out of the bag. One of
Mm-hmm.
the top guys in the football personnel department said, we're going to introduce 2 new teams. That might be press. They might press pause on that. I
Mm-hmm.
heard Russ Brandon recently in an interview talk about how they specifically did not give a timeline on expansion because it's a fluid situation and they don't want to rush into it. They don't want to make any promises. So when I heard him say that, I mean, you don't want to read too much into things, but you get the sense that maybe they could be pressing pause on adding 2 new teams.
Yeah, that's going to be because it's funny because that article, and I just want to point out James Larson also confirmed the stuff about Tom Brady, which was funny because I didn't believe it was true. And I said that in the video too. And I actually was at a DC Defenders game and someone, we were kind of talking and they were like, oh, did you hear that fake news about Tom Brady buying the Tampa Bay Bandits? And I was like, yeah, I know about that. I was the one that wrote it. So uh, it was kind of funny. And that was to me, that wasn't even the biggest story. That was a big story that people, I mean, pro football talk picked up on that and stuff. I was more interested about the Oakland Invaders. I thought that was kind of out of left field. But the one thing with this league is that they
Yeah,
don't.
and I got in touch, and I got in touch, and this is an evolving situation. They might be because Danny Garcia was on. A lot of people when I wrote an article didn't even know this podcast existed, so maybe they
Mhm,
could thank me for the increase in listeners.
mhm,
But the Fourth and 12 podcast for the UFL, which is their official podcast, I wrote an article talking about comments Danny Garcia made there, where she was talking about how proud she was about all the IP that the league owns. They have so many options and all that trademarks, and so I just think I just find it, man, I don't want to go on a rant and go, I'll be combative here because I have a tendency to do that sometimes. But I just find it funny that, we're like all in the same space. We're all rooting for the same things. And then there are just certain people in the space that can't help themselves but to get all upset and angry. I got in touch with Mike Florio when your story came out just to double check with him. He went and verified it. He even wrote in his article that he went and verified it.
mhm,
So I don't know how many people in this space actually reach out and talk to Mike Florio or talk to the Ben Fishers and all these people that
mhm.
follow these things, the Josh Gurdon's, the trademark lawyers, and to try to find out. You said it openly. It was a speculative, fun piece.
Yeah.
The Brady thing is funny because I've heard it's okay to sometimes speculate and talk about what it could mean rather than what it is. So it's like, I understand people want to have like high integrity or virtue signal that
This
they're
is spring
journalists.
football. It's not that serious.
Yeah, and it's okay if you see trademarks updated to say, hey, could there be an Oakland team?
Here's
Isn't
the
that
thing that was interesting about that,
interesting?
was that um, this league compared with the XFL when it was under Vince McMahon, they were very hush hush about, and they would like, there was a very like deep way that they would hide this stuff because Vince knew how to hide stuff from the dirt sheets when it comes to trademarks. So he knew how to bury, and that stuff was buried. The UFL was not buried. I mean, I knew about the name way in advance. I bought the domain, like everything was set up on the day that they announced the name because it was in the trademark. So I'm just following that same pattern. They're not very hidden when it comes to the trademark stuff. And,
And
so
they
that,
have so many trademarks. We know, Mark, you and
yeah.
I know that if they
All right. If you're going to want to catch the rest of that interview with Mike Mitchell, you can do so. We'll post that at some point. But again, we are live at the UFL Playoff Watch Party and podcast here at JoJo's Restaurant and Tap House in Frederick, Maryland. And we've got about 20 minutes-ish until the game kickoff, the Stallions versus Panthers. We have, remember, the Michigan Panthers versus Birmingham Stallions starts at 3 p.m. Eastern on ABC. So we want to get back into the chat room to talk to you guys before we get this game started. Appreciate everybody joining in on live online, and of course everybody here at JoJo's hanging out. We're here all day. So if you are in watching this and you're in the around the Frederick, Maryland area, you can come by. We're here. We're going to watch both games. And we'll be here until, well, if the game starts at 6, so probably till 9. It's going to be a long night. That I did my ZOA energy drink, so I'm good, and some other caffeinated beverages as well for the rest of the night. So let's get into more of your comments. And make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that. That kind of spreads the word about not only our channel, but also the league. I think the thing that fans have been talking about the most this season was the marketing. But the problem for me is they did do a lot more marketing than they did last year. They did a lot of marketing in Memphis. And look what happened in Memphis. You had 2,000 people. I have more people in this building having lunch than the Memphis Showboats having at a game. Now, I'm exaggerating, but you get the picture. All right, let's get into more of your comments. Ken says, happy conference championship day. Norman says, I want a UFL team in Columbus, Ohio. So that was one, and during that interview with Mike Mitchell, we do touch on the Columbus, Ohio, the Seattle kind of piece. And what we've been hearing is that Seattle would be not until 2027. Here's the deal with Seattle. They already paid for 2 years for that stadium. Period. So, of course, you're going to go back and not lose that money. Remember when The Rock talked about losing $56 million the first year of the XFL? A big chunk of that was for the stadium deal in Seattle. Because Seattle was like, hey, Vince screwed us and basically left in 2020. We want some guarantees. So if you're going to want to play at our stadium, we want a 3-year lease to know that you're serious. So they paid it, then they used it 1 year. So they're still owed 2 years. So that is why Seattle is in the mix when it comes to expansion teams. The other one that we've hearing, and this is on the XFL side of the house, is Columbus, Ohio. They want to put a team in Ohio. I love Canton. My wife and I love to go to Canton, Ohio. When we went to the USFL championship game, I forget. Hey, babe, what was the restaurant name that we went to? Oh, she can't hear. Well, she's talking. The steakhouse that we went to was a lot of fun in Canton, Ohio. But they're having like bankruptcy issues around that stadium and that facility. So I don't think they're in play, Canton, Ohio. So Columbus, Ohio has been a name out there. We need a new location. There are some IP that could fit that. So that could be a possibility. So that is something to keep on the radar. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not saying that Memphis is here, Birmingham Stallions is going to move, and Houston's going to move. When I write stuff for UFL News Hub, it's for fun, and it's kind of like stuff that me and my friends would want to talk about. And, hey, did you see this thing? Da-da-da-da-da. People take themselves and this stuff too seriously because this is supposed to be just fun. Primetime Prank says, move Memphis to New Orleans. I mean, that would definitely be a better city. Anything would be better than Memphis, but you saw our report, or as actually somebody else's report, that basically said they're going to be back next year, which in my article, I did say that Memphis would be still in the mix because of FedEx. And he mentioned in the article that FedEx was paying the UFL money, whether that's through sponsorships or something else on the side. But they put a lot of effort into having that Memphis marketing, and it was worse. Now, I also have a theory about why things are worse because people aren't really going to sporting events as much as they used to. DC saw attendance drop. I think partly because the Commanders now have new ownership, so the hate for the Commanders ownership, which was kind of like how St. Louis does their thing. That's why we kind of saw a little bump in because people wanted to be a football fan of a DC team, and they didn't want to do the Commanders/Redskins, so they pivoted to the DC Defenders. They got a good team, and they've got good ownership. They're building a new stadium. Potentially, DC Defenders could move to that stadium. That's something that we've been kind of hearing behind the scenes. But that's something you'll just kind of have to wait and see. New Orleans would be a good location. The Breakers bringing them back. But, again, Memphis is going to be. Norman says Oklahoma Nighthawks should be a UFL team. No. Sorry, Norman. They will not be moving to Oklahoma. I think they're a little over, maybe down the road. But right now, you do not want to move into a city that doesn't have a fan base. You look at D.C., you look at Michigan, You look at St. Louis, who used to have an NFL franchise. Those are the cities that are doing well. What's the ones that are struggling? And Mike Mitchell brings this up in the interview, which again, you'll get the full interview on the UFL News Hub channel. We'll play it on the podcast next week. But you also have Birmingham, Arlington. I mean, Arlington is okay. Houston should be good. Houston should be in that top 4. San Antonio does better than Houston. So it's kind of strange how that's played out. And Rich asks, Norman, are you from Oklahoma? Yeah. Let's see. M. Ryder says, I don't want the XFL brand to be lost. Part of the other thing is that they're talking about is, again, making a big deal out about, we're going to get rid of the XFL and USFL conference championships. Yeah, you should get rid of that. That was dumb. And and I've said this before, they should have kept the XFL name. People were familiar with the IP. I bet you if I go in here, people would be like, the XFL, is that still going? No, it's just UFL, they merged. Blah, blah, blah. Like, no one wants to hear that. Let's see. Norman says, I'm from Ohio. Chris Mason says, JoJo's. Football Forever says, rooting for DC down here in Texas. That a boy. Rooting for DC. We appreciate that. Rich says, I think Mike Mitchell, primetime pranks is not being very nice. He says, Mike Mitchell dressed like the Hamburglar. That's pretty funny. I didn't pick up on that. You've also shown your age, primetime pranks, by that, but that I'll give you credit for that. And then Rich says, I think he dressed like a criminal. Chris says, Mike Mitchell rocking the Hamburglar shirt. Bang, bang. Okay, that's funny. Chris says, we need more Mike Mitchell. I feel like he's less involved with the UFL this season. So Mike's got family stuff going on that's kind of pulling him away from doing, full-time stuff. So any Mike Mitchell we could get is great. So Chris says, got to say hi to Mark and introduce him to Matt McCrane's dad at the last game. Was one of the first news guys I found. Hey, Christopher, it was nice meeting you at the game, and Matt McCrane's dad. It's funny, when we met Matt McCrane's dad, he was like worried about him kicking in the rain, and that's kind of what happened. So M. Ryder says, do you think the XFL and the USFL should stay? I think they need them to identify with. No, I think if you've pivoted to the UFL, just go. You're the UFL, and that's it. I mean, I really think hindsight being 2020 is they should have just kept the XFL name. But since Fox kind of drives the ship, I think they wanted to be nice and like, let's just share together. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Jacob checking in from Ohio. Second, the comment about getting a team in Columbus. I agree. I think Columbus is a good spot. I think what you need to do is you have the DC, I would love to see all 4. Here's how I would play it. And we've got about a couple minutes left before we're going to drop, and for the games, we'll go over the games in a second. But I want to make sure you leave your predictions and your thoughts about expansion in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe. And also make sure about the pool that you can be involved in. $25. Just email me, podcast at UFL News Hub, and we get you in there. I think we only probably have like 15 slots left or something like that. So that we're running out of slots. This is for the championship game. It sponsors National Ovarian Cancer Coalition, and you could win $250 in the first quarter, half, and third quarter, and then the final score $750. And you can do that as well. And here are friends at JoJo's if you want to be part of that. Plus, we're giving away today DC Defenders, 4 tickets to DC Defenders game, as well as a $50 gift certificate to the DC Defenders as well. All we need is your name and phone number. We're not going to, whatever. We just want to get in touch with you. You don't have to stay all to get that. On to the expansion thoughts that I had. This is how I would play it. And I know the league listens to us. I know this. I've heard it. Mike Mitchell's people's heard it. My people have heard it. I've written stuff, and they would discuss it and argue about it at meetings. So it's kind of funny. The way I would play it this year, as Mike was talking about in this interview, is that they're not going to do anything. And I think that is a huge, huge mistake. You cannot not do anything and just keep it status quo because they're stuck in a rock and a hard place. The venues aren't taking them seriously. The fans aren't taking it seriously, but they also want to play it smart and not go too aggressive. But you're basically stuck in that loop until you go aggressive to get people to pay attention. And you need to be in major markets first. Yeah, Omaha, maybe we could have a team in Omaha one day, but first you need to make sure you get into the New York, New Jersey market, you get into the Philadelphia market, you get into California. That's why what I think they should do is in this season, you go bold. You're either going to be in or you're out. And you're going to be a league or not. So you have to do something now. The clock is ticking. You can't do another season like this because what's going to happen next year is you're going to get lower ratings and lower attendance if you don't do something to excite the fan base. So what you do is you say, sorry, Birmingham, and sorry, Houston, we're going to pause you, and we're going to move the Houston, the Birmingham franchise to New Jersey, and they become the New Jersey Generals. They already have a great coach. They have a winning tradition. It's perfect to be in New York with a winning team. That would be huge. Then you take Houston and you move them to Tampa Bay Bandits. You talk about Tom Brady as a potential owner, or he says he's going to, whatever it is, then that would be huge. Then you also activate Oakland Invaders. That's going to get people fired up because remember, Oakland got screwed out of a team, and the Raiders are everywhere. There's Raider fans everywhere, and they will instantly take on that team. Now, some things that we heard is potentially Tom Brady would be involved. I think James Larson was talking about Tom Brady maybe being involved in the because he's got California ties, that maybe that would be his thing. I don't know about that. I didn't hear that part, but I did hear more about the Tampa Bay Bandits. So then you get a California team, and then you put a team in Philadelphia, reactivate the Philadelphia Stars. They can be a new expansion team. Then you basically have added 4 new teams, but 2 new slots. Then once you do that, you get the fan base riled up. You've got big markets. Everybody's excited. Then in 2027, when you need to bring 2 new teams, you bring in Columbus, Ohio, and you bring in Seattle, another big venue. Then you've got your base set up, and you're ready to rock and roll going forward. And then I think then the league grows. If they do nothing this offseason, then that's a problem. All right, so we've got 5 minutes left. Remember the games today. We've got Sunday, Michigan Panthers, Birmingham Stallions coming up 3 p.m. on ABC. Then America's team, your team, listen, America's team is not the Cowboys. They're in Texas. They have nothing to do with Washington, D.C. or a nation's capital. D.C. Defenders is the America's team. They take on the St. Louis Battlehawks at 6 p.m. on Fox. I'm very confused about that one. I know what's best for the league is the Battlehawks to win, but I would rather have the D.C. Defenders win. I get it. So there you have it there. And there's my wife out there talking up to the crowd, and there you have it. All right, we got a couple more minutes left. Let's hit to your messages. Chris says Columbus would be good because we could actually drive to an away game as a DC fan. That is true. Be a little bit far, but not bad. Brandon says lots of decisions this offseason. I have my opinion, but I just hope whatever they come up with results in growth and sustainability. So Mike Mitchell had said in this interview later on is that they are going to have meetings right after the offseason, and they're meeting with everybody. There's nothing that has been decided 100%. That's why he was a little concerned about Russ Brandon's comments, not really hyping expansion and being like, whoa, we said something about expansion. We didn't say it was going to be next year. Now, James Larson is reporting that they are going to talk about expansions at the halftime of the UFL championship game, which would be fantastic. If they don't do expansion, at least tease it and be like, hey, next season, we're going to drop a city's name each week during the UFL season as potential expansion locations. Meanwhile, you already have, if you have the blueprint for the next 2 years, you could get away with that. But if you're not hyping something interesting or saying Tom Brady is going to be an owner or something, the fans are just going to kind of be, you just can't go the status quo into the next season. But yeah, lots of decisions, and that's all going to happen. And then, hey, they know my number. Me and Mike Mitchell will come out, and we'll talk to you. We'll get on a Zoom call, and we'll be real because we've been covering. I mean, Mike Mitchell's been covering the XFL back when Vince McMahon started. I remember playing fantasy football for the XFL when it was the XFL back in the day. Primetime says, I prefer Mayor McCheese over Hamburglar. Okay. Norman says, I'm looking forward to UFL next season in 2026. Pat's fan Ben says, has there been any discussion about having the games being streamed for free on series like YouTube, Pluto? Feels like it could have a greater reach than forcing people to get ESPN in the Fox app. They do, if you notice, Fox will have like a stream going before the games, which is kind of cool, where they're just kind of showing you behind the scenes stuff for an hour before the game, but nothing, just kind of the camera feeds, which is kind of cool. I think maybe bring in a show. Could you imagine, and I was talking about this in the article about the AJ Smith, could you imagine behind this? I mean, give us a behind the scenes show. If you're not going to do anything for this off season, you're just going to go status quo, and you need content, your streaming places need content, I would do a show behind the scenes. Could you imagine that whole AJ Smith drama behind the scenes TV show? It would be fantastic. The USFL did it, but again, they didn't promote it. They put this out. Did you know that the UFL has an official podcast aside from this one? They don't even put that out. And last one, Rich says, I think having the players stop threatening to strike and having the silly kids at ESPN only talk about that hurt. Why go to a place when you expect things are going out of business? Man, I think we're good there. All right, my friends. That is it for me. Hey, thanks for everybody at JoJo for putting up with talking, and I hope you're part of the yay. All right, you can hear them. They're cheering. We appreciate that. All right, we going on Fox right now for the 3 p.m. Birmingham Stallions, Michigan Panthers. That's it for me, folks. As always, God bless and enjoy the games. We're going to be back at halftime for the St. Louis Battlehawks DC Defenders game to give away our prizes. So that's